Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Towers Edge video or episode. What should we call it? We should call it, I guess, HPE Discover episode.
Yeah, start
Yeah,
over.
and that would make sense probably. So Mark and I, we just actually came back from. I came back today. I believe Mark, you left yesterday or day before
Uh,
yesterday.
two
Uh,
nights ago.
2 minutes ago. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
actually were in Vegas again, attending the HPE Discover Aruba Atmosphere for almost a week or so. And so I think the cool thing about this was they took the two different conferences that used to be separate and kind of combined them together, which is probably why I think they ran out of rooms in Venetian so fast.
Yeah.
I'm thinking because a lot more
It
people
was a
kind
big
of showed up.
conference.
It
It
was a
was,
huge conference, yeah. And so we just want to talk a little bit about this because this episode is dedicated to exactly that conference. There's a whole bunch of talks around obviously where Juniper Mist fits in there and the acquisition that is happening. Uh, there were talks about it during the keynote speak, and then obviously the showcase, right? There's different technologies that they showed. What is that private seller company that HPE acquired?
Athonet.
Athonet, yeah.
It's a core
So
company that they purchased.
okay, yeah. So there's some cool things that I saw there, but I'm sure you can actually speak a lot more about it, and I have some questions. So I kind of figured let me just ask you those questions when we're talking here. Um, and then you got to also attend Tech Field Day over there. Uh,
Yeah,
so I'm sure that was some.
we got some great one-on-one content with the subject matter experts, the SMEs, some heads of product and different things. So we got some great content that's over. A lot of it's over on the Tech Field Day website now. They did in YouTube. They're just releasing those videos. Some of it was more not recorded stuff, but we got some great content over there and insights. So
Yeah, and I'm thankful Tom kind of, invited me and I was able to make a cameo at the influencers thing and have some one-on-one time with some of the SCs and PLMs over there. So that was interesting. Not recorded, but it was nice to be able to ask some questions and provide some feedback on some of the new stuff that I saw in the sessions.
yep.
Uh, and then talking about that, I'd love to kind of talk more about Central, right? Because I have my opinions, and of course, yeah. Oh yeah, want to kind of make it very clear. These are my opinions, nothing to do with my employer. So
Same here.
just getting that out of the way. These are our opinions strictly. Our employers have nothing to do with this. So,
Exactly. So
uh, so what do you think about the keynote, right? So that was pretty awesome. I was fascinated by the sphere.
yeah. So this background right here was in the sphere. They crammed people in. It was a mess to get in there. You
Yeah.
barely got in, right? You got in last second.
I was like, I got the worst seats. Like by the time so they handed me the ticket. I finally got up there. Um, I don't know, fourth floor or something like that. And then they said, "Oh no, sorry, there's no more seats." So they're like, "Oh, go downstairs." So then went downstairs in section 100 or something, and obviously everything was taken. I kind of had to sit all the way in the back, and I had a terrible view. I mean, it was still pretty fascinating that view. However, like when I was trying to take pictures, it was like you could only see like this much
Oh,
because
really?
eating on the top above you and all that. So
Yeah.
it was okay, but I still enjoyed it. It was a good experience,
I was
definitely.
off to one side, but had a great view. The screen was a little distorted on some of the images, but it was great for my view. So had a blast. Pretty crazy. This was the first event where they had a keynote in that space. Antonio Nero was there and he gave a great keynote. And then he dragged Jensen, can't remember the guy's name, Jensen from NVIDIA, CEO of NVIDIA, founder of NVIDIA, on stage with him and discussed a lot of the AI stuff they've been working on, some of the partnerships they've been working on. So great keynote. They did mention the Juniper piece briefly. Really, it was. We're excited for this. We're hope to have it out by quarter 4 or quarter 1 next year. End of the year, first of next year. They're hoping to have everything finalized and have it all there. And we're excited to let you know at that point what we're going to do. That That's all they can say at this moment. So,
Yeah,
as we've
and I
all
think
been hearing from Juniper and Aruba. So,
yeah, we'll just have to, unfortunately, yeah, we just gotta wait. But it was nice, however, him at least bringing it up and seeing the Juniper logo and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things he mentioned that, they are dedicated towards the improvements in AI and all that kind of stuff, right? He said something along those lines, and which is why they acquired Juniper Mist, because so they do understand and recognize the value of what Mist has done and Marvis and all this, cool stuff that it can do. They do recognize the value in that, and it'll be nice to kind of see. I mean, there are things that Aruba has pretty awesome, and there are things that Juniper Mist has pretty awesome, I think, in my opinion. And a merging of the two technologies and some all this brain power from two sides, it can lead to some pretty amazing stuff out there. Um, and talking about that, I mean, I was not a huge fan of the Classic Central. There were a
same here.
lot of problems and things in there. They were just workflows were just like you know. And I don't know, maybe because I'm just spoiled from using Mist so much that it's hard to kind of um, see a workflow that just is not, just kind of flows, right? So I was very impressed. I'm not gonna lie with the Central Next Gen. Like Aaron, actually, I don't know his last name, but I've been following him on Twitter for a long time. He's from Australia. Super cool guy. He did an excellent presentation on APIs, for example. That was my first session, and the flow of the APIs, how it's gonna change, where they're gonna be more consistent, right, across like the overall full stack architecture. I mean, that's something pretty cool. I mean, I'm not a coder. I mean, I do some work with APIs, but I'm sure everyone will appreciate that
Yeah. I
consistency.
I personally didn't, because I was in the tech field day stuff. We got a little bit of Central. We didn't get to see many live demos. So I didn't get to dig into the details on that. We got to ask a lot of questions, but it was kind of more high level, less hands-on view. But I was definitely more impressed. It sounds, we kind of joked that a lot of what they're doing was, well, Juniper Mist has been doing a lot of that stuff, and that's not entirely the case. They are definitely having some stuff in there in the new Aruba Next Gen or Central Next Gen that is purely HPE Aruba only. But they're kind of everybody's kind of been building these different features into their products and realizing this is the way the network's moving. And so it looks like they're copying what everybody else is doing, but it's kind of going, this is a proven and working solution. So let's do it. Just like Apple and Android have followed similar things where
Yep.
they copy functions from each other. That's what's happening in this market. And Aruba Central Next Gen, HP Aruba Central Next Gen, all these buzzwords with long names. That's what's happening in this market, and I'm excited to see the new version out there. Definitely an improvement over the old version of Central.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there will be some similarities, right, across different. I mean, if you look at like Cisco Meraki, or Mist and all that. I mean, there's going to be. I just love the fact that Aruba was kind of like with the classic. I don't know what they were trying to do, but I like it. Now there's a hierarchy, and you can actually configure variables and all this different profiles and stuff like that, and then you can kind of like utilize them from at a global level, at a site level, and that can when you're trying to configure, I mean, you work at K-12, if you're trying to configure like a whole bunch of different sites in one shot, it'll make it much easier. I mean, to be able to just pull that information that you need from different levels and utilize it instead of having to create like over and over same information like the groups and that kind of stuff that they used to have in Classic, for example. And being able to utilize variables within those, I think that's another cool factor that will be very useful. I did like so I sat in their central session too. I forgot the names of the people who actually did that session, and I apologize. It was a nice demo that they showed. And they answered all the questions really, really good. The switching piece was definitely impressive on that. So I think the merging of the two technologies would definitely bring some good stuff. And I don't know if you saw or not, there is a third-party switch support just
Yeah,
for the monitoring
I
piece.
saw that. I saw somebody posted. I didn't get to see it in person, but I saw some people posted on Twitter like they had Juniper switches in Central. It was
And
like,
Cisco.
and Cisco. I was like, whoa, there's an EX 4300 or something like that in Central. That's pretty cool. So
Yeah, and I see what they're doing. Same exact thing. Like, remember back in the day, Airwave? I mean, you could
yep,
monitor Cisco switches and all that kind of stuff. So, it's a pretty, I think that's a genius idea to kind of do it this way.
yep.
And it's great. Like, I mean, if my environment has some Cisco switches and I got mainly Aruba and all that kind of stuff, well, I don't need to, if I need to just monitor them, I don't need to get another platform. I can just monitor them in there. And if as you know, Cisco switches, their CLI and Aruba CX switches, their CLI is like very similar, right? I mean, there's a lot more improvements and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I totally can see it. Why at some point maybe I should be able to configure Cisco switches in there too, possibly. Why not? I mean, do you see that possibility, you think?
Um, Possibly. You're definitely not going to have the level of, you're going to have way better telemetry data and stuff from branded Aruba switches.
Yeah,
Your other stuff's going to have way less ability to see things, but having that data in there to give you a basic general idea of what's going on and what it's connected to and all that stuff, I think that's a huge step forward.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there definitely there definitely was this feeling throughout and about coming into one system versus all these disjointed systems. What the private cellular piece was definitely not there. They are a year out plus at this point. From everything I was hearing from the SMEs, that the private cellular piece is over a year out from being integrated into Central, but their goal is to bring Wi-Fi, private 5G, switching, routing, firewalls, everything under one hat.
yeah.
Um,
Data center.
that
Yep, data
single pane
center.
of glass, which is a term a lot of people have take. It's like, I don't necessarily want that, but that's what their goal is. So and making it
Yeah, yeah.
for you.
I mean, data center too, I believe is gonna come in there also because I was talking to I had a quick conversation with Chris Couch. I'm not sure if you know him or not. He is one of the SCs over there, and I believe from what I understood, the data center piece is gonna be also get integrated and also get integrated with AI or something to do with servers. Now, I'm not a server guy, so I think that would be pretty cool, especially if you can integrate this. So Juniper Mace have Abstra, for example,
Yep.
right? Then there's for firewalls, there's SDC or Director Cloud, Security Director Cloud, or Security Director. And then there's the Mist and Juniper like Mist platform, right?
Yep.
So I think the concept or goal behind the whole central thing is like just all that is gonna also be under one platform. It's not gonna be separate things, I believe. I mean, they are still integrated, like the Abstra and all this other stuff. I mean, they're still integrated in a way, but it's gonna be, I guess there's gonna be a full integration where it's just gonna be one single pane of glass, like you said exactly, for even data center and stuff too.
Yeah. Keith Parsons was sitting next to me in the Tech Field Day thing, and somebody said single pane of glass during one of the presentations. He wrote me a note and handed it over. And he's like, every time I hear that word, I think of a single pane of a different word.
Yeah, yeah, I know what he says. Yeah,
Single
yep, yep,
pane in
yeah,
the so, but
exactly.
there are people that want it. So it's definitely a step, I think, in a good direction to have something more centralized. That it is called central after all. Have something more centralized that allows us to be able to configure and see insights and data into what's actually happening on our network in one location. So
Yeah, I wonder. So one thing I've been obviously curious about, I wonder what's going to happen on the firewall side, right? So I know Juniper has SRX, and SRX, while I do see it as an excellent firewall for service providers, for an average enterprise, like, it's different. I mean,
Mhm.
yes, I mean, there are some enterprises that use it and all that kind of stuff, but you really got to know the CLI of that thing, right? I mean, it can be intimidating versus like if you go towards like a Palo or a Fortinet, right? Or for example. So I wonder if we'll see something along like possibly a newer firewall on the roadmap. I don't know. There was nothing, no mention of that at all. So I don't know. If
Yeah,
any, maybe 5, 6 years from now, maybe.
that's a ways down the road. Just look at how Juniper did it when they purchased Mist. Started with Wi-Fi, they bought Mist, Wi-Fi only at that point. Then they integrated their switches. Then they brought their firewalls. It's going to be a similar progression with these guys when they bring in the Juniper stuff and however they integrate things, whichever route they decide to go. But it's going to be
Yeah.
a similar progression where it's not going to be everything at once. Um,
Like also
it
you
takes
mentioned
time.
private. Yeah, you mentioned private seller. So I was in the showcase area. I was walking around and there was, a few booths and I stopped by one. So it was interesting. It almost looked like Central-ish. So I'm like, oh, is this like private 5G stuff and Central and stuff? And because it had a Aruba logo thing and it wasn't, right? It was looked like a very basic screen with some, eSIMs and SIMs provisioned in there, some of the stuff. And that's what they were using, I guess, the private seller space in there. So I had some good conversations. Uh, I couldn't get all the information. And from what I'm then the next day, I was walking around and I ran into this another thing. I think I showed you a picture of like a little private 5G in a box,
Yep.
right? And it's just this one little thing. It had all the blades in there, it had the core running on the VMs. And I'm like, I'm talking to them, and some of the features that I was talking about, they said, yeah, we have them. I'm like, wait a minute. I just had this conversation yesterday over there. And they said no. And you're saying, yeah. So I don't know. Like, do you know anything about that? Like, so
Yeah.
is there one is a public, one is a private?
So let me back up a little bit here. Um, HPE a year ago purchased Athonet. Athonet is a core only company. They're focused on the core side only. Uh,
Okay.
what Athonet purchased was just a core. Athonet H has been around for 15 to 20 years. They've been doing the private cellular stuff for a long time.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Okay. It is a long time.
yeah, it, it's been it's only recently that you've been able to build them more widely because of Spectrum, unable to get Spectrum. Before CBRS, it was large, it was very, very niche. CBRS opened up a lot of Spectrum or the Spectrum for anybody to build one. And so that's what's caused the boom in the interest in private cellular. But you've been able to build these for a long time if you had access to Spectrum radios and you're at sport of this band. So that is a very the Athonet core itself is a very, very mature core. I've
Okay.
had access, I've been playing with it for several weeks. I've had access through my day job um, to play with it and different things. And it is a very mature, very well built core.
Yeah, it looked pretty good when he went through different things.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
And then 3 weeks ago, down when we were in Vegas at the HPE event, Aruba announced, let me make sure I get this right, HPE Aruba Networking Enterprise 5G, Private 5G. Once
Their
again, more names
market
that are a million miles long.
their
Whatever.
marketing needs to do something about this naming thing.
Yes, they
That's a
do.
mouthful.
Yes, they do. But that's what they announced. Largely to prepare, I think from my just understanding and thinking about this, it was largely just as a preparation because this was not Aruba Atmosphere. Aruba was part of it. Atmosphere was part of it, but it was an HPE Discover. I think they
Mhm.
released those product lines because of that. Um, because of that mentality that this is HP's conference, so you can't make big announcement at HPE Discover. Um, and and so that's why those were released, and and things like that. But so now you're starting with this announcement to go, okay, we have a core. We now have radios. We're taking Athonet and we're going to integrate it into Central eventually. That's the goal.
Okay.
But that takes time. They've only been
Of course.
together for a year. It
Okay.
closed last fall. And so they haven't had a ton of time to just like Juniper and HP are doing right now.
Sure.
Athonet and HP went through the exact same thing a year ago. And at Aruba Atmosphere last year, they were in the same boat. Can't talk about it. They mentioned a few things briefly, and that's all they could do until it closed. And so they've only had so many cycles where they've been able to start building this. And they just wanted to get something out there with product that's, as some of the people told me, they wanted a turnkey product. And so you kind of still do have these two pieces. Athonet as a core exists. Everything I've heard is going to continue to exist for the foreseeable future because there is those long-term customers that have been using it. And so they
Okay.
have to keep the Athonet core running. But what their goal is to build in Athonet core into Aruba Central, bring in radios, bring in whether they're HPE branded, which those radios that we saw at the conference on the show floor are actually rebranded Sercom radios. But taking those radios, putting HP's brand on them, putting their firmware on them, and having them integrate very tightly like an Aruba AP, that is what was announced 3 weeks ago. That they have those. Talking with people, they're talking with them. Their goal is not to completely wipe out any competing vendors' radios. Their goal is to maintain existing partnerships with other vendors so that you can BYOR, bring your own radio if you need to, because there are bands of spectrums that they're not going to supply radios for.
Okay. So let me
At the
clarify this.
HP level.
I can go and buy like a bicycle radio or airspan or something like that and still use it. Okay.
I had an opportunity to ask that specific question, and that's the answer I got, is they're not looking to replace those partnerships.
Okay.
They have to maintain those because of they can't build radios for every band of spectrum that's out there.
Sure.
And so they wanted a turnkey solution. As I said, Athonet was just a core network. They did not do anything on the radio side. They relied upon other vendors to bring the radios. And so, but they wanted a turnkey solution. So that's why they released those radios. They're bringing the core over, they're rebranding that their Athonet core is getting rebranded into the HP name, but it continues to be the Athonet core. So,
okay. Yeah, once the integration is complete and everything, and being able to then so something that we haven't seen so far, right? We haven't really seen like really AI like what we have seen in the Wi-Fi world side of the things, like with Mist. We haven't seen AI in private cellular space, right?
adoption is a lot less. So there's a lot less funds in that market. So
Yeah.
there's a lot less ability to develop and build new features,
Yeah.
things like that in that market. So it's still early stages. I expect more things like this from other vendors buying cores or these private cellular companies and integrating them into their stuff. This is just the early days of that market, because it's private cellular has been around for a long time, but we finally have an opportunity to do it at a wider scale. And additionally, there is also the issue that I can't take this product and go from the United States to Europe to Australia because there isn't spectrum available those countries. Canada has some options, Germany has some options, there's several other countries that have some options, but it is not as easy to do as CBRS is in the United States. So there's a long road ahead of the market to actually maturity, getting better products and developing features like AI. Hopefully, my hope with this whole Juniper and the thing I'm most excited about the HPE Juniper acquisition is bringing Marvis bringing Mist AI over into the Athonet core and all that stuff. So that's one hope, and I'm excited to see out there, but it's definitely several years on out. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be an exciting thing for pretty much their whole portfolio right now. However, on the Wi-Fi side, right, like because some of their older APs, they I mean, they don't have a additional radio, right? Sensing radio, like Mist, for example, have an additional radio for every single access point. The hardware is built like beefy enough that it can actually handle grabbing all that telemetry and kind of sending it out to the cloud and everything like that. So, I mean, I'm assuming that if you have a solution that are using like the older access points or not, I shouldn't say older, maybe I should say like pre-missed access points, um, you might require UXI sensors, and then I can see the UXI sensors, or possibly I don't know. I mean, they might come up with a completely different sensor. It might be called Marvis sensors, possibly, because those sensors will be needed to kind of send that telemetry data up to the cloud if you have the pre-missed access points. And then I believe was weren't you guys talking about like the hardware that's been upgraded in the tech field? Yeah, I saw some posts around it where the 700 series Aruba has made the
there's some
hardware.
big changes in the hardware in the new 730s, I think, or
Yeah,
750s. I can't remember the model
I
number.
mean you can run containers on it or something
Yeah,
like that. They're talking about
yeah.
it.
So we got some pretty cool deep dives. Like we got to see some of the radios. So there's a couple hardware changes in them. Basically, the premise of it was, and this is in the Tech Field Day videos, but the premise was Wi-Fi 7, cool features, but is it really enterprise ready? Is any of it benefit in enterprise? And they did not mention MLO. I think they mentioned it like for 2 seconds, but they did
Right.
not focus on MLO. They went, what are the benefits of this new radio? And Wi-Fi 7 is cool and everything, but it's more of a home technology. So what do we do in the enterprise? And so they took the mindset of, well, what else could we add to these radios that's non-Wi-Fi 7, but give a benefit and something that these would benefit these radios. And so they added several new functions, new hardware pieces that are, one of them is actually pretty cool and game changer. But one of the features is they previously they had one USB port. Now they have
Mhm.
two.
Okay.
So you have two ports. You get 10 watts of power split between the two ports with full 802 with BT power.
Okay.
808 power, so you have to have BT power, but you get 10 watts of power split between the two ports. And you can say 6 goes to one, 4 goes to another, 5 and 5, however you want to split it, but you can provide power to each one. And then you have IoT radios that you can plug into those Zigbee, whatever radio type you want to plug into those. And you can
Sure.
have IoT sensors built onto the radio. Another feature that they added was the um, they added what's called they added a barometric sensor in there so that
Okay.
the AP can sense altitude. So it can tell that it's on floor 23 in a hotel, and and so you can know, and that is part of that is planned to help with location services. So when you're locating your users in a building or something, or helping steer them around a building, their AP can know where it is and what floor it's on and all that stuff using barometric pressure. Um, so it can sense what its altitude is. Um, that is the game changer. That is a pretty cool feature, and I bet at least on the high end level, other vendors will copy that idea.
Yeah, I remember when Aruba first announced the GPS geolocation kind of thing on the access
Open
points.
locate.
There's open locate kind of thing, and it was pretty cool. It was, yeah, I mean everyone was like, yeah, wow, this is a great thing and all that using GPS. I'm like, that's great. I'm like, well, what are you doing about like when it's on the second floor, third floor, fourth floor, or like in 8 or 10 story building? So I guess, yeah, they finally caught up to that kind of, and now they're able to kind of do that, which is what they did say at that point. Yes, that's next that they'll do it. So I guess now we're seeing the next that they said at that point.
Yeah.
Uh,
And pretty cool feature that they added. What was the other thing you were talking about? You asked me about
container.
containers. That's right.
Yeah, I'm curious
I knew
about
there
it. I
was
mean,
a third one. So they're building these radios to have a more beefy processor in them and some
yeah,
storage. That's their goal. And so with that allows you to run Docker containers. They're going to be very limited what Docker containers can do. So you're not going to be your massive store servers running on these things, Docker stores containers, but you can do some basic storage contain or basic containers running on these radios, on the higher end ones that whatever you need. So you can process the IoT stuff directly on the radio or things like that instead of have to send the data to another sensor. It can be
yeah.
processed real time on the radio and then handled appropriately, whatever you need to do from that point. So
Yeah, and I believe it's going to go through. It's not like anyone can just have whatever their container or whatever apps they can just push it to that. I mean, it's going to go through a process. I believe there's going to be some kind of interface that HPE is going to have in their Green Lake possibly, where you'll submit your applications and stuff that they'll
yeah,
approve and go through testing process. Because obviously, yeah, because otherwise, if they allow whatever you want, I mean, that will start impacting the performance of that access points, right? I'm thinking, and then that looks bad for obviously HPE.
yep. Yeah,
So I'm sure
they definitely will have a app store if you want to call it that, of Docker
HPE App
containers
Store,
that you can
HPE App.
actually run on these radios, but it's the whole edge mentality of bringing compute, bringing processing closer to where the data is collected. That's what Docker is valuable for, is bringing that compute closer. And so
Hey, that was, by the way,
bringing it to the
one of
edge.
that was one of the things we thought about and talked about when we were first trying to pick out our name.
Yeah,
Tower. I mean, Tower, obviously, yeah, private cellular stuff, but Edge, that's exactly what
we're
was
Tower's edge,
missing.
man.
Yeah.
So we're right at the edge, and that's what Aruba is doing. I attended Edge Field Day 1. They have another one coming up. The Tech Field Day guys have another Edge Field Day coming up, I think 3 at this point, um,
Okay.
up in a couple months, but where they discuss some of these things. But all of those Edge companies are using Docker. They're using Kubernetes to coordinate these containers that are running on servers. It's the same concept. We're looking at it on the radio side and bringing it even to that level. So I know Cradle Points can have, some of the Cradle Points have this functionality built into some of their endpoints.
Hmm.
And so this is just the evolution of the market as they move forward and bring compute closer to the where the data is. So
So what we need is we need Aruba to be convinced to attend a mobility field day and show us what's happening with these new
they'd rather do Tech Field Day, man. They
or
X
that's fine. That's fine
experiment.
too. Yeah, yeah, that's fine too. Experience that definitely and all that kind of stuff. But I think a mobility field led to showcase some of this like new stuff with their access points and central next gen. What's all coming and showing the wired side of the things, obviously in that. I think that would be pretty cool. Would love to. I'm sure everyone would love to see that.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but I mean that's their marketing. But yeah, it was. I really enjoyed. Oh, one thing I forgot in the keynote, something that they mentioned, and not my world, but I still thought it was pretty cool, and that was the 3-click private cloud thing with
Hmm.
NVIDIA. You
Oh
remember that?
yeah,
Where
I vaguely remember that. I yeah, I don't
I
remember
mean,
the details.
it can be multiple sizes, small, medium, large, or something like that. But like you can build your own or whatever you need, build your own private cloud in 3 clicks. I mean, sounds too good to be true, something like that. But I mean, and I didn't get to see any demo of it and all that, but that would be pretty cool if somehow they made it work and literally in 3 clicks I can build my own private cloud. Uh, ideally, it would be great if the 3 clicks can be done or that can be done by somebody like me who is not a storage and a server and VM expert, right?
Yep.
I just have give me an interface. I go log in there and I say, hey, I want like a private 5G cloud, and like this is what I feed it some parameters, and just like it just builds that for me,
Hmm.
right? That would be super cool. I mean, if I hope that those are that's the path that they're going towards.
Yep. Everything at HP is getting integrated together. That's why we're bringing HP Discover, Aruba Atmosphere. I think I think that's an outward appearance of what's happening internally is industry, the different areas of focus within networking and data center and all these areas are coming together, and they're realizing there's data in both that is valuable and
Hmm.
and actionable when it comes to real world use cases, that this is where the market's headed, and that's what I really got at HPE Discover. So
Yeah. Um, Hamina. We gotta talk about Hamina. That was did you get to see the live view thing in there?
yeah, so I have live view running on my Mist right now. The Aruba one's not available yet. It's not it's in testing, I guess. I don't know, but or maybe it does require next gen.
Yeah, next time. Yeah, I
You
think
have to
Morocco
next
should be available.
Yeah, Meraki, Mist, and Arista are available right now.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
You have to
And
have the higher tier. You have to have the Planner Plus license to get it. So the basic license in Halmana does not work, but I have it working right now. I was showing it off to people yesterday. So
yeah, I was so I saw so Jerry showed me, right, for first time I saw it. He showed it to me when I met him actually at the showcase area. And that was pretty impressive. And he was showing me actually because I believe it was that, or I forgot which site he showed me. Anyway, whatever site. It was pretty awesome. He gave me like a tour of it and everything. So I'm like, wait, it's available for me too? He's like, yeah, it's in beta, but it is available. And I turned it on for our own office and a couple of other locations. And I was trying to compare my actual design with it and all. So then, we were also discussing, I mean, technically you can have, I mean, if you have the full version, like let's say you have the Hamina planner, you have the planner plus with the live that can do the live view, and you have the actual like Nomad to do the active survey, and you do all that. I mean, three different ways to kind of verify the coverage and look at it, and from different, I guess, vantage points or whatever you want to call it, like because you can see, hey, this is how I designed it. That's what my active survey looked like, and this is with the real-time data that's coming in.
yep,
So I think that would be pretty cool because, like, let's say 2 years from now, when you have to refresh things, I mean, you have really good documented data that you don't have to go back and redo a site survey. I mean, you pretty much just use the live view, and
yep,
you can actually change in there too. Like he was showing me, you can add access points and move them around and things like that, and it will kind of adjust and show it to you what it will look like.
yeah,
I'm just curious what exactly. I mean, I'd love to kind of pick UC and Joel's brain and figure out, or somebody from their team, well, how exactly they're pulling that data right from the
yeah,
platform, different platforms. But it was pretty fascinating. I think it will make um, the troubleshooting and being able to see what's happening in the environment, and obviously from the cost perspective, right? Think the truck rolls for. I'm not saying that it's gonna eliminate survey, right? I always like try to kind of make sure I don't want people to think that, oh, it's gonna eliminate surveys. I mean, surveys still have their own place, but it can still reduce some of the truck rolls and help with the design, future designs.
yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Going to be pretty cool when it gets wider adoption and helps improves our day jobs. So we have less truck rolls. We can actually see data, and that's what all these tools are doing. That's
Yeah,
what Mist has been doing forever. That's what HP with their new version of Aruba Central is doing. Is trying to and reduce the time required to fix issues and bring it to the forefront so that we know when there is an issue.
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
what they're doing. So
Yeah. I love the fact that they are just innovating constantly. And I love the fact that the whole project is being built. Like I kind of like normally when I'm having a conversation around it, it gets me excited because like the whole project is being built, not by the develop. I mean, yes, developers are doing the coding work, but the product, if you think about it, is being built by like all the wireless and engineers from all over the world,
Yep.
but collaborating on this one thing, trying to, and the end goal is to make all the wireless engineers their lives easier when they're trying to design, and or deploy or troubleshoot and that kind of stuff, right? So I love that UC and his team, they have an open mind about it, and they're not just trying to just add features that they think are needed. I'm
Mhm.
sure some of that is that they're adding some of the features too, but I mean, with his experience and he whatever he's coming up with is definitely excellent. But at the same time, all the other engineers are giving him feedback and the voting thing, right? I love that fact that you vote on the feature that you want, and
Yep.
um, if it gets enough votes and it gets a higher priority. So
Yep.
that's definitely very cool.
Yep.
So yeah, I just want to mention UC reporting.
One last thing before we drop off. They had Wi-Fi 7 at the conference. Those radios you were connected to was Wi-Fi 7.
Oh,
You
okay.
know
Yeah,
that? Did you
you know
know
what?
that?
So I mean, I don't know. I
Not in
guess
the sphere of Cisco, but in the
I'm gonna
conference
just
they had Aruba.
you have a Wi-Fi 7 phone or
No, so Josh Metzel, he came and talked to us, but he was posting some updates and he posted on Twitter that they had 493 Wi-Fi 7 clients
hmm,
connected to the network during the con. There's
interesting.
14,000 people at the conference, so that's a very, very small number.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. But still, I mean,
it's rough. There
which
was roughly 4 or 5% of
what
clients.
did it fingerprinted devices? Like what kind were they, or were they?
It was
Did they?
connected with BE. They were connected with BE, so they can tell based off the radio what they're not. They didn't know what clients it was, so it was
Oh,
most
okay.
likely it was most likely Pixels or Samsung. Samsung has a Wi-Fi 7, um, or
Ah,
probably some Intel BE uh, BE 200 radios that somebody had replaced in their laptops, but there was just under 500 clients that were Wi-Fi 7 at the conference.
now I want to
And
go buy myself a Wi-Fi 7 device.
yeah, at the end of the conference, right before I had to head off, we actually got a tour of the knock and got to talk to some of the guys, and they told us some of the issues that they're having. The first day, with it being new Wi-Fi 7 radios, the code is not all the way baked either. So they
Mm,
had some issues that they discovered during the conference about that were firmware bugs in the
mm.
radios that they pushed and got updates and they had it fixed the next day and it worked way better the next day. So it was a pretty cool push by HPE in Aruba. More on the Aruba side, HP tends, as they was telling us, that they tend to be more cautious with what they're doing, whereas the HP or the Aruba side is more adventuresome and let's try this, let's do this, and all that. So, but definitely cool little test bed with Wi-Fi 7 there at the conference. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it makes me want to kind of always go spend money and buy the newer stuff, right? But I'm not. I will wait. I will wait for the maybe next iPhone to come out with Wi-Fi 7.
it's
Uh,
not going to be this
it's
one
gonna be a
year.
while.
It's going to be
Yeah.
another year.
I did I posted by the so HPE like the whole sessions, right? I posted this on the Twitter too. Just one quick feedback. I just want to kind of emphasize the fact that they gotta have two screens because people who were sitting on the right or left, depending on where the screen was, it was impossible to see what was going on. It's like, they dimmed the lights and that helped a little bit. So yeah, I would love it if next year when they do it, there's screens on both sides, or if it's centered, right? That will kind of I don't know, or maybe my eyes are just getting old. I am getting old. And then yeah, yeah. So that would be pretty awesome if next year, there's a little bit tweaking right there in that case. And Scott, I looked for you everywhere, IT Rebel, right? Scott Lesser. I could not find that guy. I have been following him for God. years. I mean, maybe when I started Twitter, I think that was back in 2012,
Yep.
13 maybe. And I was really looking forward to meeting him this time around, but I never got to meet him. So hopefully I'll get to meet him in one of the next events or something like that. I did get to meet Joshua Williams. I don't know if you met him. He's super cool, super awesome, very nice guy.
Yeah,
And
I
a whole
got to
bunch
see
of other
several
people.
friends. I saw several friends. That felt good to see some people that I only see at WLPCs. So it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, love that fact that you always get to meet somebody new and get to talk to them, get to know them, and interact with them and share stories. So yeah, one of the cool things about conferences, right? Like
Yep.
that. Yeah. So talking about conferences, yeah, I just want to mention one more thing. YCO, North Carolina was a decent event, and think would love to see some people at the Austin event, August 23rd. They were kind of looking at it. And of course, if you can make it, Mark, I would love to have you there. Talk some cool stuff about private cellular over there. Or possibly do hands-on too. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I would love to kind of do, possibly do some hands-on private cellular stuff. Maybe like Scott did an excellent job with industrial Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
setting up radios. People liked it. Everyone was engaged. So I think doing a hands-on with private cellular would also keep people engaged and they'll enjoy it.
I had a meeting this morning with Julio from NetAlly, and
Mhm,
he actually came to my office. It was pretty cool.
mhm.
Chat with him here in my office, but he was like, "You should do a deep dive on private cellular," and I'm like, I've debated it, I've looked into it a couple times, but so we'll see. I'm working on some things there, so for future.
Time, time. I mean, it
Yep.
takes up time, right? That's the
Yep.
thing, but I mean, yeah, we've been like what? Literally, we've been trying for a week to do a video, and we're finally
Yep.
getting a chance.
Oh, we got one. We got one video. We got the prep video done, uploaded before the
Yeah,
con.
yeah, we had one short one, yeah, but no, I'm talking about this one, right? We were trying to
Yep.
do it like on site, and just like with your schedule and my schedule, it was just we were just not getting time. So,
Yep. So
so yeah, well,
cool. It's been
everyone,
great.
thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to give us your feedback, by the way, right? I mean, I'd love to kind of hear some feedback from people, what they would like to hear about, what they would want to, especially in the private cellular space, so we can kind of like, carve out those topics. Obviously, this was really mainly focused towards HPE Discover, but the next one, we'll do something more private cellular, I guess.
Yeah, we'll dig in some more details about private cellular and all that. So
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody.